Now, despite running all the way to the other side of the world to get away from everything that Kendrick Lamar is up to right now, Drake clearly has stayed tapped into what is going on during Kendrick's victory lap for the ages, as during the same time Kendrick is just building more and more hype for the Super Bowl and of course is now being celebrated for what happened at the Grammys. Despite Drake designing an entire tour to act like he is distracted and not bothered by what Kendrick is doing, what we have found out has made this obviously not the truth, because with Drake's entire Anita Max win tour, what he has clearly showed is that he is more bitter and upset about everything Kendrick Lamar is doing and with all of the success that he is currently seeing. And as Drake has taken the stage and the mic for the first time, what he has shown is that with how down he really is, if the entire run that Kendrick is on right now is a victory lap, what Drake is doing is some sort of a defeat lap. But now before we go any further into the embarrassment Drake created all by his own doing during his first full-on performance since the beef that changed everything, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And so now with Drake, while he is now finally getting back to music after doing every other embarrassing thing in the book as he started his Anita Max win tour, what has become abundantly clear is that after just the first show, is that if this is what Drake's been planning on coming back outside with when the pressure has never been higher and from the people to the industry, everyone as a whole is just done with him, well then very similar to his actual strategy in his beef with Kendrick, he should have thought this all through a lot more, because from the start to finish of Drake's performance, he managed to display that even despite the run he has had where he has ruined his legacy quicker than really any other rapper ever has, and after a tour like his previous It's a Blur series, where despite all the corny gimmicks and antics Drake did on that run of shows, that somehow if you thought that antics like dissing Childish Gambino on a Jumbotron or some of the ridiculous floating props Drake had around last time were enough, well, I got bad news for you, because this entire show from Drake is going to remind you of one thing, and that is that no matter how many bad things this guy does and how his choices disrespect the very core and foundation that hip-hop was built on, that despite how bad Drake may be for hip-hop, it is becoming impossible to not just break out in laughter at the things Drake did during night one of his tour, as he just did a great job of reminding the world that he will always be Jimmy Brooks from Degrassi over everything else. And now the reason I say this is because with the entire way Drake framed and set up this tour, he tried to build it up into this moment where despite all the conversations that have been had like this very one we are having now about how Drake's career is over and because of the Kendrick beef and everything brought on that Drake will never be the same, that no matter what everything else has been saying and even at this point what the numbers are indicating, despite what is really not even opinion anymore but is pretty much becoming fact, according to Drake, his career is still intact, and what he seemingly tried to prove is that no matter what has happened from the release of Kendrick's Like That verse to now, is that he has survived all the industry's attempts to take him down, and Drake proved this by wearing a shirt that was all tethered up with holes, which of course had the intention to make it look like he just came back from battle. And if you didn't think that detail was enough, in Drake's own vision, just to symbolize how he walked away from all of the clashing with his career intact, Drake had smoke coming out of his back to try and create some sort of a cool effect, and I mean for so many reasons. This is just the most laughable way you could have ever tried to make an official comeback from the biggest rap beef and biggest L we have ever seen from an MC of all time. Because while if Drake had even a slightly different outcome in this thing than the reality we are now in, he maybe could have pulled something like this off despite how ridiculous it would have looked regardless. I mean, when you actually know the reality of the situation, which of course means that we all know and Drake deep down inside realizes that he didn't make it through anything. You can't walk around with this type of pride if you ran away from every single thing that happened when it got too tough. And then beyond just running away, you sent in paperwork over what happened in this back and forth as a whole. And now beyond Drake's hysterical entrance, whether it was him reminding everyone of the fact that he has been doing music since 2008 and now it's 2025 and he is still active and on top in his own eyes, although we of course know that is no longer true, or it was Drake wearing a Tony Montana jacket to try and be tough and edgy, which I mean no matter how cool the character you're repping may be, when you go and perform records like Girls Want Girls with this thing on, you just lose whatever message you were trying to send with this in the first place. But now beyond all the presentation that went into this Drake show to try and make him look bigger than ever, but in reality the only thing it did was make him look like an even bigger loser than ever before, at the end of this all, no matter how corny everything else Drake did, if the performance he came on stage with was good, He would end up walking away from this moment and this tour with some respect back that he lost, but now despite Drake playing over 30 songs and some of them being hits from when he was actually known for making quality music, Drake has managed to uphold the same standard he has with everything else he has been doing recently, which is that with every single time he steps out, no matter what the occasion may be, the offerings he is giving us just get worse and worse. And I mean, you think that being at this point in your career and after the beef that this would make you end up giving your most passionate and inspired performance ever, but in actuality, instead of stepping up to the moment, Drake has just shown all the more why he will never play at the Super Bowl and why he will never even try to play a stadium, because if he did, from people close to the stage to people far, he would actually make a lot of the crowd go to sleep. This is not an overstatement, because with the way Drake performs, which managed to get even worse here from the last time we saw him, he just embodies the very worst in live music. And now I'm not just criticizing Drake to criticize him here, but seriously, for someone who has compared themselves to MJ and Prince and who has called themselves the best rapper ever, you can't just put yourself in that conversation if all you do when you're on stage is lazily walk back and forth while a speaker plays your songs and you are just singing along to a few words here and there. Because although the standard has been set so low in the Drake era of hip-hop and music for that matter that some people actually now think this is a performance, and a lot of new rappers who followed in Drake's footsteps do this as well, no matter how many horrible artists do this, this is just unwatchable and disrespectful to everyone who has ever walked into a show and decided to support an artist in a live setting, and everybody who's ever taken the stage for that matter as a performer. Because whether you value showmanship in performances and want to see exciting moves, choreography, or just exciting presentation and stage design as a whole, or you value what it means to be an MC and you want to see someone who calls themselves a rapper be able to bring what they do in the booth to a stage and also just have a strong connection to the crowd they are speaking to. No matter which category you care about, Drake fails in both of these regards, and he's not just bad, but he disrespects the art of MCing as a whole, as by rapping over pre-recorded vocals, which is something that other rappers and top-tier performers ranging from Tyler, the Creator, to Jadakiss have made it very clear that this is the worst thing a rapper can do on stage, as overall it just dispels the principles that hip-hop and more specifically the art of being an MC were founded on. I mean, all of this, and especially now, is just not a good look for Drake, and really, in this time where Tyler himself is about to go on tour, and we all know he is about to show what a live experience really looks like at the highest level, both in terms of the showmanship and the MCing. And of course, Kendrick is going to be playing at the Super Bowl, and just like Tyler, Kendrick is a top-tier act in both of these regards. I mean, with Drake literally walking up and down a stage and having some basic effects and never bursting into moments where there is any real sort of energy or command over the audience, which you can so clearly see when he is performing songs that are supposed to be his biggest hits. I mean, it's all so perplexing. It really makes you question whether Drake is just a bad performer, if he doesn't care, or, and this is what I think, it's a mix of both, because I just don't know how you can manage to, especially in this time where it has never been more important to gain just about anything you can back. Just try to slightly impress people by doing the most basic thing of bringing a little bit of effort when you are on stage. But now really in the deeper sense, as Drake has shown during his new tour that whether it's from Kendrick and all the success he is seeing or LeBron who he is removing from his lyrics, that he is not over what has happened whatsoever. And instead of doing what great artists do and finding ways to express this through your craft and create something stronger because of what you faced, this new tour is showing us that Drake is now just standing right within the failure he has created and is now only using this to define his name further and further. And I mean, as this is where we are at, and again, not just with Kendrick, but so many other rappers who are about to show what it means to perform on the highest level, if the whole idea behind this tour, beyond running away from Kendrick, was to help create hype around Drake's name in the industry so that he can win back his label and get what he wants from them, I mean, just none of this is helping. And if anything, when we are going to compare Drake's shows to Kendrick's or Tyler's tour, he is just going to prove with these lazy shows why his run is over and why the entire industry from fans to labels are moving on from Drake. And now between this tour from Drake and his upcoming album, which is only looking like it's going to make everything worse as nobody is excited for this thing, Drake is managing to show that in this time where he is trying to make a comeback, just by returning with one of his worst performances ever and getting ready to drop an album that is going to offer nothing new, that even when coming back outside and now moving past the drama and getting back to performances and the music, that because of his lack of effort, it's all over for him. And really, as this tour continues and Drake is going to have to play on the exact same date as Kendrick is playing at the Super Bowl, it's really just going to be funny to see just how much Kendrick's success is going to keep affecting him with the ridiculous stuff he is doing and how bad his skills look in comparison. And so now with all this said, let me know, What do you think about Drake's ridiculous moves that are trying to tell us that he is over the Kendrick beef, but is really showing that he is not at all? And what do you think this tour is saying about the current state of his career as a whole and where it's going to go from here? Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how just as Drake has embarrassed himself here, he's also showing that the Grammys got to him bad enough that it made him announce an album that nobody wants, and as a result, it is set up to fail and make everything even worse for him than it already is. Check out the suggested video.